Hey everybody, it's Annabelle, your VTuber demon that wants to play for fun, and I hereby invite everyone to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. On today's adventures through Marvel Snap, we took a look at the newest card to enter the Spotlight Cache, and that is Makkari. Makkari started out as a man, but after some years, they decided to change into a woman. They have lived many a lifetime having adventures throughout the centuries, becoming a part of our history as many early humans often confuse them with Hermes. Even though a wicked side lives deep in this hero, one that enjoys using speed abilities for stealing and also has a desire for taking revenge on people who insult their intelligence. They also did teach the Egyptians how to write. Makkari is deaf due to the sonic booms that accompany her cosmic running, but she still has a voice, as she helped introduce sign language to civilization. Because of her passion for speeds of all kinds, she loves various high-velocity transport vehicles and has a great mechanical aptitude. She has the ability to pilot most land, sea, and air vehicles. She mostly fights hand-to-hand when in combat, using a style that incorporates her superhuman speed into many of her attacks. Makkari has devoted the majority of her energies to the improvement of her personal superhuman speed. She is capable of generating sonic booms, can create cyclones by running in circles, can run up walls and even across water. She has boosted her speed to unprecedented levels. She was successful in becoming faster than any other Eternal ever before, but at the cost of some of her other abilities, such as flight. Makkari may be seen as old-fashioned, as she does not own a DVD player to watch movies, and that she is a voracious reader of books due to the fact that her speed has led her to traverse every corner of this planet, and she's now bored with it. You might think her sense of right and wrong is undefined, but at her heart, she is a very noble and kind person who is fond of saving children from perilous circumstances, cares for her teammates, and is obedient to her leaders. Makkari has almost the same power set as any other Eternal, but went for pure speed that she uses mostly to get humans to safety, as well as to help defeat creatures, but she also likes to use her superhuman speed to rob artifacts and objects without being detected, making her a master thief. She also has a gifted intellect with the fact that she can read a whole book in a mere minutes. Her mind is faster than the speed of sound. Makkari has superhuman speed that she has boosted to unprecedented levels, which has led her to traverse every corner of the planet. This is represented in Marvel Snap by the fact that no matter what, if she is in your hand and she sees any open spot on your battlefield, she will go running from your hand into that spot. So in Marvel Snap, she is a 3 cost for power with the description of a static ability that after the turn that she's in your hand, she will run from your hand to a random location, as long as there's a spot available. Unfortunately, this does make her quite a low-star card. I gave her a 1 star, and let me explain some of the reasons behind the reason that she got such a low-star rating, because I don't like to give out 1 stars, believe it or not. So, if you were to just look at her strictly as a power stick, she looks like a Cyclops, not a high evolutionary Cyclops, just a regular old Cyclops, which is a 3-4, and nobody plays Cyclops as a 3-4. Now, that's kind of overestimating her and giving her too little credit, as the way to really look at her to a certain degree is kind of looking at her like a black cat. Black cat is a 4/9, which you will never ever actually honestly play, or what's sometimes referred to as hard casting this card. If you're hard casting Black Cat, or if you're hard casting Makkari, you've done something wrong. You never want to play this card. The problem is with Black Cat has a high power behind the fact that she gets out of your hand. But on the other hand, you do have to have a Hello or a Ghost Rider to bring it back. So if you were to look at Makkari, she's a 3 that basically is doing what Black Cat is doing, where it's discarding from your hand and doing what Hello is doing by bringing it back, or I should say what Ghost Rider is doing by bringing it back on the same turn. And that's one cost one less, but it doesn't quite have the power for this. And that's kind of her problem. She's such a low power, but because of how she's written, how she's designed, her only knob right now is her power. If you move her to 5, if you move her to 6, if you move her to 7 as an energy cost, you can make her 72 as an energy cost. It doesn't matter. You're never actually meant to play her. So the only thing that really makes a difference on her is her power. And she's at such a weird factor of power, because if you increase her power too much more than being at the 4, she starts becoming a 5, becoming a 6, becoming a 7. She's going to become the 12th card in every deck. Because to a certain degree, you almost got to look at her as like a Yellow Jacket. Like, not only a Yellow Jacket with twice the power and no downside. Would you play a double-powered Yellow Jacket with no downside? Knowing the fact that if tomorrow they came out with a patch that says Yellow Jacket has its power doubled and now no longer has any downside, would you play it? That's basically what you're doing with Makkari. You're putting a card in your deck that you're hoping to get early. And if you draw it late, it's basically quote-unquote a dead card. It's not quite a dead card, but it's a card that you never actually want to legitimately play. So basically, the two ways you gotta look at it is either Yellow Jacket or Black Cat, and for that, you're basically getting the Cyclops stat line. Because even after 1, it starts going down. Even on 1, it starts going down. Because if you play Hawkeye, if you replace this with Hawkeye, and even on turn 2, you're allowed to play anything into Hawkeye, and you get that choice of where to play something into Hawkeye, Hawkeye is going to match her power for power. Now, she does have the bonus of being higher than a 1-drop, so she doesn't have to deal Killmonger, but power-wise, if you play Hawkeye on 1 and play anything on Hawkeye's location onto any other card, you're getting that same stat line. The problem is she kind of has M'Baku's effect. She even has a worse effect than M'Baku, where it will literally jump out of your hand and go to any location. Could be a good location, could be a bad location. You're hoping it's going to a good location, you're hoping it's not going to a bad location. We've learned from the past that location variants and Sanctum Sanctorums and Borrowed No Names aren't that big of a deal. But the fact that it's so random, it can't even go to the lowest location is another problem with this card. When you look at a card like Quicksilver, this is almost the buff I wish they would have given to Quicksilver. If they would have taken the text off this card and given it as a buff to Quicksilver, I don't think that would have been broken. And this is about the power level that it needs to be. A 1-cost card, maybe a 2-cost card. Make it 2 just so that it doesn't die to Killmonger. And just let it go out and be a quick, simple card that starts in your hand, gets out of your hand, and you're done. Because on 2, you basically got the same costs on Cloak. Who even plays Cloak on 2? So by turn 2, if you're not willing to play Cloak, Why are you willing to play this? And the whole idea is that you're not really playing it. You're playing cloak and maybe getting this down on 2 also. But then you got to worry about wing clogging. And the worst part is because of how she's written. She doesn't even work with cards like Bishop or Sasquatch or any of those cards that work when it's played, because she doesn't say played. If this card even said played on it, it would have some sort of interesting use on it. Even in Silver Surfer, she's not quite the greatest card in Silver Surfer. You're making it a 3/5. Sorry, a 3/6. And even at a 3/6, it's barely seeing play. I don't know if you look at threes here real quick. We go by power for 3/6. You're basically all of these cards here: the Waves, the Vipers, the Spider-Mans, even the Sabretooths are 1 power less, and you don't have to worry about when it's being played. Now, there is a nice thing because of how it's worded. You don't have to worry about Leech, you don't have to worry about Cosmo, you don't have to worry about Enchantress. It can get buffs off of stuff like Nakia or anything else that would normally buff your deck. So there is interesting stuff on this, but to me I'm trying to figure out what deck wants this, because even Bounce doesn't seem right. Now, there are 2 interesting decks that have been brought up. One is using basically some version of Storm with Legion, where you basically storm the lane, you Legion the Storm on 5, and then hope that you draw the Makkari after that, and then it'll drop itself into one of the other lanes, acting as basically a Super Jeff. But that is so risky, as any turn before Storm, it doesn't really matter. The other thing that you could possibly do is have her come out early, if you get her early, and then play the Storm on that lane, knowing that you're going to most likely win that lane, because playing Storm on 3 and having it go on top of Makkari that happened on 2 is a 3/6, which is hard to beat on 4 or 5. Especially if you follow it up with, like, say, a White Widow. Another interesting combination that nobody's talked about, but I thought about near the end, is playing a version of She-Hulk with Infinite, where basically you're waiting to play, on turn 4 you play a card, and then on turn 6 you play the Infinite, and because you played nothing on turn 5, you had the Makkari drawn on that turn, it's going to play itself. And that's almost what I wish Makkari would have too. I wish she would hold herself until you didn't play a card and then run out. Because of the fact that as soon as you draw her, you're playing her, you have no real surprise on that. So, other than those cards for this particular week, the Spotlight Caches do not look that good. The problem with Gladiator is Gladiator has gotten to the point where it's too hard to play in the meta. There's other cards that are basically doing the same amount of power as Gladiator. And if it catches anything higher than an 8, you basically help them play that card. It's playing your Makkari for your opponent for all intents and purposes. Because it's pulling it down from their hand. And with the meta, it's not hard to be above 8 anymore. X23 is still a good card. Not gonna lie, X23 is still a good card. It's the card you're hoping for in this pile. The card you want to get. But the problem with X23 is you basically need every other part of Destroy, and then X23 becomes better. It's the best card in Destroy. But if all you have is X23, I'm not sure you can make Destroy work. If it's enough to really power that deck, if you have X23 and you get none of the other 4s or 5s for Destroys. And I base this on how good it is if you have no other 4s or 5s. So this is a perfectly good week to skip, especially with the end of this month coming up. Not this next week, but a week after this, we're having Airshun come into the game, which is going to be an interesting card, if nothing else. So maybe don't buy this. Wait for her to get buffed, to get nerfed, to get something. She's going to have something happen to her in the future. I cannot see her staying at this stat line. But I also don't know where they can make her go. Because if they make her become a 5, a 6, a 7, playing a 7 on turn 1 is just broken. That power means nothing to her. That power might as well say 0. So this whole week I would skip. I am going to open a box because I do this for content. So let's find out what's in our box. What's in our box? Let's all find what's in the box. In the box we have Gladiator. I've already done a video on Gladiator a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So I will try to think of something else to do for this Friday. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, remember, play for fun.